In Huntsville, Alabama, Martell Holt was recently involved in a horrifying SUV collision on a peaceful stretch of road. The SUV was discovered upside down, totally wrecked, and with Martell unconscious inside. Doctors say it's touch and go, and he's currently in a medically induced coma.
Sadly, we are following two tragic breaking news stories tonight.
First, a terrible crash. Deputies say an SUV collided with an ATV are in critical condition tonight. The driver of the SUV was not seriously hurt.
The thing that raises questions, though, is that there were no brake marks. LaTisha Scott disagrees with the initial claim made by law enforcement that it was a single vehicle incident. We shouldn't either, given what she just said in public. At this point, LaTisha is speaking up. She also claimed that in the days preceding the crash, Martell's paranoia was getting worse. She claims that he told her that he thought someone was pursuing him. But what if I told you that this story is about much more than missing skid marks and twisted metal? Just outside of Huntsville, Martell Holt was driving his opulent SUV down a wide open highway. There was no fog, no rain, and it was full sun. The road was straight, dry, and clear. Anyone familiar with the area knows that accidents are uncommon there, particularly for drivers like Martell, who are renowned for their caution and self-assurance. However, something went horribly wrong that day. It was a violent impact. His SUV's front end crumpled like paper when it struck a concrete barrier with such force. According to emergency personnel on the scene, it appeared as though a bomb had detonated. Debris strewn all over the road. About 30 feet away from the scene of the collision, glass, twisted metal, and a portion of the bumper were flung. Martell was unconscious when emergency personnel arrived at his location. He had a weak pulse. Before they hurried him to the hospital, paramedics had to stabilize him on the spot. Even more concerning, though, is the fact that there are no brake marks, swerving indicators, or other clues that he even anticipated the collision. Without making any effort to stop, it seemed as though his car simply crashed into that barrier. The onboard system of the car was examined by investigators. No mechanical malfunction. Why didn't Martell attempt to brake then? Why did he fall asleep? This is where things start to change. Earlier that day, something spooky was seen in traffic cam footage. Martell wasn't traveling alone. Indeed, one car repeatedly appeared behind Martell in almost all of the surveillance footage that investigators looked at, a black Mercedes G-Wagon. It appeared arbitrary at first, but the pattern soon became apparent. The G-Wagon was seen following Martell in numerous surveillance footage taken from gas stations, intersections, and highway exits. It was never seen passing him or backing off, and it was always kept within 2 car lengths. The witness testimony followed. The black G-Wagon sped up and sideswiped Martell just before his SUV veered off, according to a driver who was a few hundred feet behind the collision and told police. Just enough to knock his car off course, but not enough to flip it. It drove away without a trace, which was even more suspicious than G-Wagon not stopping. They simply disappeared into traffic without any identifying marks or license plates. That is a setup, not a coincidence. Here's the thing though. Hold off until you find out who owns that G-Wagon. Martell Scott, LaTisha Scott's own husband and Martell's longtime friend, had bought a black G-Wagon with the same model and trim, recently registered and still without license plates, just days prior to the collision, according to people familiar with the case. Martell was taken in by police to be questioned. He was held while investigators looked into whether there was any connection between his new car and the one seen at the scene, even though no charges have been brought yet. According to sources, investigators are examining surveillance footage close to Martell's property to verify his claim that the G-Wagon had been in his garage the entire day. What's the reason behind the missing plate? I just purchased it. Investigators, however, are not accepting that. They are examining the ownership records, comparing timestamps, and attempting to connect the paint transfer from Martell's SUV with the damage on the G-Wagon. Martell hasn't said anything in public. However, LaTisha is refusing to back down, stating that she wants the truth regardless of the consequences. In the past, Martell Scott and Martell Holt were like brothers. And more than just co-stars, they started companies together, watched Love and Marriage Huntsville together, and even supported one another through difficult times. From the outside, it appeared to be a strong alliance, the kind based on respect for one another and success in common. However, that picture was short-lived. When the cheating rumors surfaced, everything began to change.
Like what? I don't understand.
Go
like
back.
what?
Okay, I'm gonna be sure.
A lot of times, Tisha hears things about Marceau she probably already know. She just don't want you to know. Because then, the more people know, the more she might have to do something about it. Almost how Melody had to do, you know? That's why I try to keep whatever Marceau and I done in the past with women and places we've gone, things we've done, people we shared. Him after me, though.
When Martell's affair was made public, the drama focused on him and Melody, but the fallout quickly spread. Martell's behavior on the show was openly criticized by Marceau. Additionally, sources claim that tensions increased behind the scenes. Martell was deceived. He wasn't prepared for Marceau to publicly humiliate him in such a way.
But ain't nobody said about the kid, though. She said very clearly, she's talking about the wife. She's not talking about the children.
She said child. She said child.
She said child.
She said child.
So she said Martell needs a DNA test.
Martell needs to go get a blood test.
That's what I didn't hear.
Why are you talking about it then?
If you want to mention somebody other than who you talking to, I think I'm talking about what I want to say. Hey, man, get your hand out. Get your hand out. Get your hand out. Get your hand out.
Things started to snowball from there. Open animosity replaced the lighthearted taunting. Heated arguments erupted on and off camera. Even their back and forth during a group dinner where Martell accused Marceau of being dishonest and disloyal was captured in one clip. However, Marceau asserted that he was simply being honest. Viewers began to notice how the tension increased with each new episode. That enthusiasm wasn't limited to the show. People close to them claimed that even off camera, their passive-aggressive insults degenerated into outright hostility. They ceased conducting business with each other. Outside of the filming process, they ceased to communicate. The cold shoulders and side eyes had taken the place of that brotherhood. People didn't ignore it when Marceau's name appeared after Martell crashed. That rage simmered instead of subsiding. Fans are now speculating as to whether it ultimately boiled over into something lethal. Social media exploded after fans obtained the crash video and the G-Wagon mystery. Fans re-examined old show clips, dissecting each exchange between Marceau and Martell. Things that seemed insignificant at the time suddenly felt like hints. Their glances at one another were little jabs that now seemed to have deep significance. Some fans even went so far as to compare the G-Wagon seen behind Martell's SUV in the surveillance footage frame by frame with Marceau's G-Wagon from previous Instagram videos. "I knew something was off about Marceau from the jump," someone commented. "I was never duped by that fake smile. This was personal," another one added. Rewind to episode 6 of season 4, where Marceau's expression was venomous when he called Martell out. This was not an accident. However, as supporters demand justice, another person came forward and her remarks completely exposed this case. LaTisha sources claim that although Scott Morrow's wife had been silent for days, the silence broke in private before it did in public. According to reports, LaTisha told producers and close friends that she was aware Marceau was not merely mildly irritated, but rather distressed. Were acting very irate, pacing, yelling at everyone, and even missing planned filming the day before the crash. Insiders claim that just prior to the incident, LaTisha made a suggestion that she and Marceau had been having a serious argument. Nobody understood what she meant when she allegedly forewarned that something negative was about to occur. People initially thought it was simply marital conflict. That warning is chilling now. She said that Marceau had not slept well the previous night and that his behavior was peculiar. He kept bringing up Martell's name, was irascible and lashed out. Something seemed to have changed. If LaTisha is correct, this is premeditation rather than merely drama. Law enforcement is finally looking more closely now that more than just fans are speaking up. Investigators have reportedly obtained GPS logs from both of the vehicles involved, or at least from the black G-Wagon, which they believe to be the second vehicle, in an attempt to determine whether G-Wagon followed Martell from his house or stopped somewhere along the way. They are charting the route taken that day, minute by minute. Pings from cell towers are also being examined. Phone activity from Marcel's known devices is being compared to locations close to the crash site by investigators. There will be serious concerns if those pings match the G-Wagon's route, particularly since he didn't claim to have been close to the scene. Additionally, they collected paint samples from the SUV's wreckage. Recall that witnesses reported that Martell's car was sideswiped by the G-Wagon just prior to it colliding with the barrier. It is now physical proof, not conjecture, if the lab verifies that any of that paint originated from a G-Wagon. Furthermore, it doesn't end there. Officers are examining that section of road from every possible angle in the hopes that one of the cameras captured the impact, or at the very least provided them with a clear view of the G-Wagon's plates, or lack thereof. These steps are not insignificant. This indicates that they take it seriously. Investigators are troubled by something, and the accident's story begins to unravel with each new piece of evidence. Fans were shocked to learn that Love and Marriage Huntsville's filming had been officially halted. Furthermore, this is not your normal production holdup. The cast was caught off guard, according to insiders. Everyone was instructed to return home until further notice, schedules were cleared, and cameras were packed up. Additionally, the cast is very split behind the scenes. Some people have stopped talking altogether, no cryptic tweets, no Instagram stories, nothing. Others, on the other hand, are reported to be visibly distressed, wondering how things came to be this way and whether they ever truly understood what was happening. Notably, neither Marcel nor LaTisha have made any statements, and there isn't even a post requesting privacy. They no longer have active accounts. And that silence says a lot when tensions are this high. People are wondering whether the network didn't want to be near what might happen next, or if the crack was the only reason production was halted. But at this moment, silence is screaming that something went horribly wrong, because it can sometimes be louder than words. There is no doubt that although Martell is currently unable to speak for himself, the facts and LaTisha's horrifying disclosures are beginning to do so. Was this a planned action to permanently remove him, or was it just an accident? For more videos, subscribe to this channel and leave a comment with your thoughts.